If you can't get your breakouts under control, then you might be making one of these mistakes. Today, I'm going to be sharing some of the most common mistakes I see people make when treating acne and how to fix them. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Dr. Sam Ellis, and I'm a board-certified medical and cosmetic dermatologist in Northern California. I'm here to help you understand your skin and find products that work for you. So if that sounds good, give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. This video includes a partnership with Apostrophe, and in just a bit, I'll be sharing why I think Apostrophe is a great option if you're dealing with acne. I really wanted to touch on acne mistakes because I feel like in my clinical practice, there are certain issues or misconceptions that continuously come up. And when I have a recurrent theme that I see among my patients or among my followers, I feel like it needs to be addressed. I'd say one of the most common acne mistakes I see is not intervening soon enough. Now, this doesn't mean that as soon as you get your first pimple ever, you need to rush to the dermatologist, but I just want to raise awareness around the fact that there are things you can do at home before you ever even make it into a dermatology office that can help you get control of your acne faster. Ideally, you want to intervene with your acne before it causes any type of long-term scarring or irregular pigmentation. And not all acne causes permanent scarring, but some does. And if you could prevent that, I highly recommend it, because as someone who treats acne but also treats acne scarring, it is so much easier to treat the acne. And even if we're not looking at sort of the long-term consequences of acne, in the short term, when you're struggling with active acne, it has a really big impact on your quality of life, your confidence, etc. So if you can get it under control now, do it. If you're dealing with some early or mild acne that you'd like to address, but you're not quite at the point where you think you need a professional to help you out, there are definitely some over-the-counter products you can try to get your acne under better control. So let's talk about those first. Benzoyl peroxide is one of the most effective anti-acne ingredients, and you can find it in so many different over-the-counter products. You can find it in leave-on products, you can find it in the form of cleansers, and you can also find it in varying strengths or concentrations, somewhere between 2.5% all the way up to 10% benzoyl peroxide products. This is going to help with oil production, it's going to help exfoliate out the pore, and it's going to kill off acne-causing bacteria. And one of my favorite benzoyl peroxide products is the Panoxyl Acne Creamy Wash, which has 4% benzoyl peroxide. This can really be used anywhere on the body that someone is struggling with acne, whether it's their face or their chest or their back. Typically, I recommend you leave it on for somewhere between 30 and 60 seconds before rinsing it off, and use it as many days per week as tolerated. From a practical standpoint, one thing to keep in mind about benzoyl peroxide is that it has the potential to bleach textiles like sheets or pillowcases or towels or clothing. So it's really important to wash it off really, really well. And if you're using it in the form of a leave-on product, to be really careful about putting your clothes on and things like that so you don't ruin any of the things that you own. Another great over-the-counter acne ingredient is adapalene. And in the United States, you can get 0.1% adapalene without a prescription. I'd say currently the most popular adapalene brand is Differin 0.1% adapalene gel, which you can find at most drugstores and on Amazon. Adapalene is a molecule derived from vitamin A, and it really works by increasing cellular turnover and clearing out those clogged pores that are sort of the root of acne. For optimal results, you'd want to apply a thin layer of this to clean, dry skin once a day, though it can be quite irritating, especially when you first start it. So I usually recommend people start by applying it just 1 or 2 nights per week and slowly increasing to nightly use as tolerated. A benzoyl peroxide wash followed by 0.1% adapalene gel is sort of my favorite 1-2 punch for treating your acne with over-the-counter products. But let's say you're using these over-the-counter products and you're not seeing the results you want. Prescription medication is a good next step. And one thing I'll say is it's not just about having access to prescription medication. That's only one piece of the puzzle. The other piece of the puzzle is having access to a professional who can help guide you towards achieving your acne clearance goals. And that's where Apostrophe comes in. Apostrophe is an online dermatology service that connects you with an expert dermatology team and gives you access to prescription medications, not just topical, but also oral medications that can help with things like acne, but also common skin disorders like rosacea and hyperpigmentation, and even just fine lines and wrinkles. I also really love that your initial treatment plan is crafted by a board-certified dermatologist, someone with the same credentials as me seeing patients in person in my office. And I feel like some people may be watching this going, okay, you're a dermatologist who sees patients in person in her office. Why would you talk about or promote or be affiliated with an online dermatology service that sort of competes with what you do? So here's the deal. As a dermatologist, and really just as a physician in general, it is my hope that as many people as possible have access to good, high quality healthcare, or in this case, good, high quality skincare. And I recognize that I personally cannot provide everyone who has acne or rosacea or hyperpigmentation with an in-person visit in my office. So if there are online services like Apostrophe that give more access to prescription medications, to skin experts for more people, I'm all for it. With that being said, I'm still very particular about what I recommend, and I could never recommend something like a service to you without personally experiencing it myself. So I went through the Apostrophe program as a patient. I had my virtual dermatology consultation. I received a customized treatment plan. I got prescription medication, and I used it because I wanted to understand what the entire experience was like. And I have to say, I was really impressed. I mean, first of all, super convenient. I could do it from my couch, but also the fact that they collected a really thorough health history. They wanted to understand what other conditions I had. They wanted to understand my skin, how long I'd been struggling with my acne, what I had tried in the past, what I was interested in trying, etc. So what they did for me really mimicked what I do for my own patients in my personal clinical practice. And I have a lot of respect for that. I also submitted photographs of my skin so that the person evaluating me could really understand the kind of breakouts that I was dealing with. And once that was all done, I think I got recommendations back in less than 48 hours. So you submit it online, they get back to you with what your care plan should be. Of course, you can ask questions at that time. And then if you're okay with everything, they ship out your prescriptions to you. And I got my prescriptions in like 3 or 4 days. It was shockingly fast. And because of my specific acne concerns, it was recommended that I use more than one acne fighting ingredient. But rather than having to have a separate tretinoin prescription and a separate clindamycin prescription and a separate topical spironolactone prescription, Apostrophe was able to compound those all into a single cream. And I think there's multiple benefits to using a compounded medication. One, it just streamlines your routine, and a more streamlined routine is just easier to stick with. Two, you don't have to worry about layering your products and understanding what goes first, what goes second, what goes third. You can just put on a single prescription compound and tackle a lot of acne issues at once. And then the prescription medication itself was really lovely to use. Sometimes you get these compounded medications and they can be sticky or gritty, and that just makes it so not fun to do your skincare routine. So when you can have a really cosmetically elegant formula, or a formula that feels and looks good on the skin, that is such a nice bonus. And I was really impressed with the Apostrophe formulation. So to circle back on the acne mistake that sort of kicked off this entire conversation of not intervening soon enough, having access to an online platform like Apostrophe that connects you with skin experts so you can get prescription medication in a timely way to help treat your acne when you actually want to treat it is huge. I actually have patients in my clinic that I see in person who also use Apostrophe. Oftentimes they started Apostrophe before they ever saw me because they wanted to make an appointment in a dermatology clinic, but it was a several month waiting period. And so they used Apostrophe in the meantime. And then by the time they were able to get in to see me, their acne was doing so much better that we could focus on their other dermatologic concerns. So if you're struggling with breakouts and you don't have immediate access to in-person dermatologic care, an online dermatology service like Apostrophe is an excellent way to go. With the right prescription medication, acne is so treatable. So don't delay intervening on something that bothers you if you don't have to. Let's move on to another acne mistake that I commonly see, and that is over cleansing the skin. There's this common misconception with acne that it's really a hygiene issue, and because your face is dirty, you're getting breakouts. But that's really not the case. Just think, most people go their entire childhood without breakouts, and then when they become a teenager, they start getting acne. And that's not because their skin suddenly got dirtier when they became a teenager, it's because their hormones kicked in. Now, with these hormonal shifts, you get enlargement of the oil glands and increased oil production, which certainly can drive the acne process forward. And people might feel the need to cleanse their skin more to remove some of that excess oil. But so often I see people washing their face 3-4 times a day, trying to scrub every last bit of oil from their skin. And that's not going to help. In fact, over cleansing the skin or using washes that are too harsh can actually break down your skin barrier and lead to additional inflammation, causing new acne to form. Now, what I'm about to say might get me in trouble within the dermatology community, but there's actually no evidence to say that you need to wash your pillowcase more frequently in order to prevent breakouts. I cannot tell you how many parents I've seen driven mad by washing their kids' pillowcases every single day or 4 times a week or something like that, worried that that's the thing that's causing their kids' acne. Just take a break from the pillowcase washing. It's totally fine to launder your linens at a normal interval and not feel like it's the pillowcase that's causing all of the acne problems. Again, it's not the oils and the dirt on the pillowcase that are they're causing an issue whatsoever. If anything, it's just the friction of someone rubbing their cheek on a surface that can increase pore clogging and lead to new acne breakouts. We see that with phones. We see that with kids who wear helmets. We see that with kids who play violin and rub their chin. Anything where you're rubbing skin over and over again can increase acne breakouts, but it's not actually oil or dirt that's the problem. I generally prefer for my acne patients to use a very gentle cleanser, and often just once a day. If they have very oily skin, then twice a day. Otherwise, just once a day. And I want them to use a moisturizer that helps support their skin barrier. So gentle cleanser, prescription medication to do the heavy lifting, and a moisturizer to continue to nourish the skin. A lot of acne prescriptions can be a little bit irritating on the skin, so the rest of the routine should really be supportive. The next acne treatment mistake that I see all the time, and I'm also guilty of, is not being consistent with your routine. When acne medications are studied in clinical trials, it is typically with everyday use for 12 weeks. So if you're using your acne medication 4 or even 5 times a week, that's not enough. And if you've been using it for only 8 weeks, you cannot expect to see the same results as people in the clinical trials did who used it every single day for 3 months. Now, I understand not all acne medications can be tolerated every single day, so you have to kind of work with what works for you, but you also have to understand that your results may be limited based on how consistent you can be with your prescription medication. Now, if you've been using your acne medications every day for 3 months and you're not improving, that's a good time to think about changing up your acne routine. But until that 3-month mark, I really encourage you to have a little faith in the process, because I cannot tell you how many patients I've had who tell me, listen, Dr. Ellis, 2 months in, nothing had changed, but I hit week 10 in my treatment regimen and then my acne got so much better. And sometimes you really do have to wait that long to see results, but it's worth it. One problem you run into if you switch up your routine too frequently is that you run out of things to try. There are only so many ingredients or medications or prescriptions that have proven effects on acne. And if you just run through them, not giving any of them enough time to truly exert all of their positive effects, you're gonna feel like nothing is working for you. Unfortunately, it's not uncommon for a patient to come into my office struggling with persistent acne and for them to tell me, listen, Dr. Ellis, I've basically tried everything. But when I do a little bit more digging into their acne treatment history, I find out that a lot of their prescription medications were only used for 3 to 4 weeks at a time. And instead of trying to put them on some really creative acne regimen, oftentimes we just need to do a little bit of education. And when I put them back on acne medications that they've actually been on before, but we focus on being really consistent and giving those acne medications enough time to work, we often find success. This also ties into the next acne mistake I see, which is expecting complete clearance of your acne within the first 3 months of treatment. I mention this because I feel like a lot of patients are bummed about the fact that at their 3-month acne follow-up visit, they're still getting some pimples. But what they're not really evaluating is how much they've improved from their initial consultation. They might need another 3 or 6 months to continue to clear away those breakouts. But what we want to see is that they're on the right track and that the prescription medications that they're on or the regimen that they're on is leading them towards clearer skin. The other point I'll mention here is once you get to your quote unquote skin goals and you're really happy with where your acne is at, you may need to stay on your prescription medication for some time, maybe a year, maybe 2 years, to help you keep that clearance. Sometimes people will say, oh, nothing works for my acne because as soon as I stop my medications, it all comes back. But you really need to think of acne as a long-term condition, which requires long-term treatment. Many times people will sort of grow out of their acne once they get beyond their teenage years, but there are a subset of adults who continue to get acne. And if that's the case for you, you need to stay on treatment in order to keep your skin clear. Okay, I just have a few more acne mistakes to cover. If you're enjoying this video, be sure to like it and to subscribe to the channel. That means so much. A big mistake I see when it comes to acne is picking or popping your pimples. And of all the acne mistakes, this might be the one that is hardest for people to avoid. Deep down, we all know you shouldn't pick or pop your pimples. It can lead to scarring, infections, it can delay your acne from healing, yet so many of us still feel compelled to do it. And that's because picking and popping is really a stress response. It's a way for us to feel like we are exerting control over something that feels a bit out of our control. But there are so many better ways to deal with your acne and to deal with your stress. I am definitely prone to wanting to pick or pop something, so something that's really helped me is using pimple patches. Now, pimple patches don't necessarily help your acne resolve faster, but what they do is they create a barrier between your finger and your face. Sometimes they can also help to draw a little bit of fluid out of the acne blemish so that it flattens out more quickly. I'm personally not the biggest fan of spot treatments in general, but I will make an exception for pimple patches. I really like the Hero Mighty Patch. These come in different sizes and you can apply them over your pimples. And again, they just sort of help draw some fluid out of the pimple, keep a barrier between your finger and your face. And also for me, they serve as a little bit of camouflage. And there's just something about like walking by a mirror in my home and seeing a big pimple on my face that makes me really want to go and pop it immediately. So if it's camouflaged by a pimple patch, then I'm a lot less likely to do that. Which brings me to my next acne mistake, which is relying on spot treatment. When I prescribe acne medications to people, I essentially never want them to be using it as a spot treatment. When a pimple comes to the skin surface, it's essentially at the end of its life cycle. It only has a few days left to go before it resolves, whereas the pimple started probably 2 weeks ago deep in the skin. And that's really what your prescription skincare is working on. It's working on those pimples that have yet to become pimples. You need to be proactive with your skincare, and spot treatment is really reactive. This is actually one of the reasons why when I give lectures and I teach other dermatologists or dermatology providers about treating acne, one thing I'll ask them to do is to review with their patients how their patient is actually putting the medication on. Because so many times you'll find that your patients are spot treating when they should be applying it more broadly, or they're using too much medication or too little medication, or they're not applying it frequently enough. And that's not your patient's fault. That's your fault for not educating your patient. So it's just one thing I want to make abundantly clear, that most acne treatments should not be done as spot treatments. And if you are a dermatology provider and your patients aren't getting better, it's so important to ask not just what they're applying, but how. The final acne mistake that I see is blaming yourself for the acne you have. Your acne is not your fault. The main driver of acne is genetics, and you have very little control over your DNA. So instead of getting mad at yourself for causing your acne because you've been stressed or you haven't been eating well or your sleep hasn't been optimized, just understand that acne is common, it's normal, and it's treatable. So if it bugs you, you can get on treatment, but don't waste 1 ounce of mental energy blaming yourself. What are some products or some tips that you've used to help get control of your acne? Let me know in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time.